Hey everyone, I'm Skytrius, and today I want to show you some of the stuff that I did last week and this week. If you didn't see last week, I did release the alpha on Discord here, so you can check it out, version 0.2.0. If you didn't try it out yet, please make sure to try it out. Hopefully by the time this video comes out, the next alpha will also be out. Let's just kind of check out what I did. I've worked mostly on polishing and bug fixing, so let's just go over some of the commands I added, which is not a lot, but one of the commands that is often used if we just go into like a playground here is like ABC, right? A lot of the times you just want to select all the children, right, and do an action on it. If I do a shopping list, ABC, I just want to select all the children, and then I want to maybe cut and paste them somewhere else, right? So instead of doing it manually now, what you can do is do Control H to just control all the children, and then you can press it again to swap the head around. So you could move upwards, swap the head around, move upwards, or decrease the selection. And it's basically a nice way to just get all the children. That's essentially it. So yeah, if we check out the next one, it's paste from Clipboard. Let me show you what that does. So just a simple example here. We can take this and put it into Todool now, basically by using the command here. So paste from Clipboard. And what will happen is paste from Clipboard will just look at the indentation here, and you can just do a paste from Clipboard like this, right? So very easily you can now, maybe if you have your to-do, like temporary to-do stuff somewhere else, you can now just do a raw copy from here. And yeah, you have to use tabs though for this to make sure that it works. Because if you do a raw copy with Control CH, or no, Control Shift C, sorry, it will do the, I have copied everything into the clipboard, and now I can actually paste it. And obviously we can kind of go back and forth of this, or through this here. If I don't know, delete some stuff here. Oh man. Like this. Oh, I didn't do the paste from Clipboard. Yeah, here we go. So that's that. Okay, so that was these two commands. Then we have the duplicate line. It's very simple. Do Control L to just duplicate the line. That's really it. So the more interesting one I added just today was move up and down through the stack. So sometimes what I notice is I just wanted to move to the parent, right? This was a command I already had, but I want to go up and up, right? But sometimes you would want to go down, right? So what I have now is I pretty much have like a stack of like 255 or so tasks that can be saved, and you can just go somewhere else, and then you can pretty much jump from any indentation. You will jump to the last task that was saved at that indentation, right? So if I move up now, it's actually going to save this location, and then any parent going upwards, right? So it's pretty useful when you want to just like quickly go up and then back down, and then up and back down, and like this, right? But it had a few limitations though, where if I move up from here and now it's folded, and I try to move to it, you'll see it will kind of jump to the location, but because it's folded, it's going to jump to the wrong location. So it's not perfect, but it's one of those things where I have to care about this stupid folding again to make it kind of work seamlessly. But you get the gist of it, right? It's just moving up the tree and then back down. Oh, and apparently it doesn't work here. Oh, because this was screwed up. Okay, that was weird. Yeah, okay, so that will have to be fixed as well. But yeah, that's pretty much that. So moving up and down the stack and kind of having a way to go down again. Yeah, then some minor things. I fixed pretty much all the leagues. So each task allocates a bit of memory, so each of those have to be cleaned up. And the way I do deletion and such is that they are actually not really deleted, they're just kind of in the undo stack. So I add them to a map as well, and I just keep track of what needs to be deallocated at the end if I close down everything, so that's it. Okay, I also refactored the search a little bit to be a bit more memory efficient in regards to this stuff, and also how the memory is cleaned up afterwards. So so maybe it's interesting to some of you guys, but basically this is the way I have it now. So the search result is basically the index at which the result is in. So this would be 0, 1, 2, 3, right? 3 to 7 or whatever. And yeah, that's pretty much that. U16 should be enough for most feasible strings. And then the search entry is pretty much the pointer to the task, right? So which task this belongs to, how many results we have, right? Because you could have potentially infinite results, and then the offset into the results array. And yeah, it's pretty simple, right? Because this is kind of per task, and this is potentially infinite per task, or like just. We talked about those two. Save files get written to a temp file again in case of errors and then renamed. So this is something I had before, and yeah, I just added it back again in case anything goes wrong. You need to do this as far as I know. The theme editor has gotten some rework as well. If you haven't seen it before, this is the theme editor. With scaling it looks a bit weird now, but it doesn't matter. So essentially I have these folding panels now, which you can click on and they'll just kind of open up. Because before that it looked kind of like this and you had to scroll down a lot. And that was kind of terrible, so instead now you can just choose on what you want to color, and then we can change the color. Yeah. I also just simplified this kind of stuff, but you can still move around with a keyboard and just do whatever color you want. And then there's also reset light and black mode now. I'm just testing out these colors, and when I'm doing this at night, I just want the black color. So yeah, that's pretty much the theme editor. It's pretty simple, and you also see the scroll bar works nicely. If you have tried out the last alpha now, you should have seen that the task dragging was pretty unpolished, and I just did some visual polishing, some icons, and yeah, let's just show it before I destroy anything here. So pretty much that was the selection, right? And now we can right click and you see like a circle, right? So if I let go now, it's actually going to do the prompt. But if I go outside of this prompt while holding right click, it will actually drag out the tasks. And you'll see these like floating icons that I made myself. And essentially the highlight here now is we can put them somewhere else, right? That's the entire idea. So some visual highlight when it's actually going to cut out, because I didn't have that before. And yeah, now also you can see if I go up to the top here, it's going to zoom upwards. So slowly, right? But you can go fast if you just move a bit further. And then I can put them somewhere else. And then I can take them out again, and there we go. Have that crossed off. The multi-selection now has a shadow transition, so the shadow highlight, like that. It takes a bit longer to transition into the shadow, but it's pretty much instant when going out. So it looks pretty nice now, and I like it. So scroll bars for the task panel now, vertical and horizontal. So these here on the bottom. And so pretty much the problem with this is, since it's essentially infinite, the scroll bars don't really make that much sense, right? Because if I would go up here now, it would kind of start at the top here, and it would go to the bottom of the task bounds, right? If that makes sense. That's at least the way I've set it up right now. So the bottom would literally be this position here, the bottom position of the rectangle. So you see, if I start at it, it's going to be at that position. And then if I go here, you'll see I'm at pretty much 0 of the whole tree. But I can go further, kind of based on the mouse position where you started the drag. So if I start the drag here, it's going to do like very little, right? Unless I go outside of window bounds, right? But if I would start here at the bottom, I could go way further. So I don't know if this is good or bad. I'm just gonna leave it in for now, and that's the way I handle these for now. I think it's good enough though, and the same for the x or the horizontal coordinates. And yeah, maybe something you see as well now, I have the indentation be shown in here on the task right. So these have a finite size now in the list mode. And so by default now it will always do the wrapping when the text gets too big. So the reason for this is because the scroll bar was obviously broken with infinite sizing, and yeah, I mean, if I look at it now, like if I zoom or if I scroll to the right, it's actually kind of okay now, because you can kind of understand the structure of this, right? You know, there's like 4 children here, and then this is the next indentation, so it might actually not be too bad to have this, right? Just have a finite size. And the way I've done this for now is that it just is dependent on the size that the mode panel is right now. So if you're in a big one, it's just going to take pretty much this whole size minus some amount, right? So you'll see like this task is like minus 50 pixels or so. And yeah, so if you're in a small window, it's gonna look all right. Or it's going to try to wrap, you know, until it hits a maximum size. And yeah, scroll bars, and then the scroll bars, you know, made me have to redesign a little bit the way I did this stuff. I'm talking a bit too much maybe, but that's just, hopefully that's clear enough now. So with that, we also removed the wrapping option for now, so it's just fixed now. By the way, this is how the Kanban now looks. I kind of worked on some of the visuals as well, just the outline. I removed that, and yeah, the scroll bars work in here as well. This wasn't an issue anyway, but the scroll bars work in here, and it's nice, right? It just kind of works, and it's lovely. It's nice to get to this point for once, you know, when before I didn't used to have this kind of like consistency with UI. So it's just nice seeing it all kind of work. But yeah, so let's talk about the next thing, which was a suggestion by a Discord user, and it was about the changelog generation. So back then I had this way to generate a tag or changelog from all the done and canceled tasks. But it would be a very hidden shortcut, right? So it would just do the action, and you know, it would have like options somewhere hidden. So instead, what I have now is pretty much like the theme editor, which opens a window. I just have a changelog generator. So here on the right, you can see this is the stuff that it would say. Well, okay, the scroll bar is broken, but you get the idea here. It's just showing us the content that would be taken out and would be put into changelog would be here, right? It's just displaying the information that would be that you would want for changelog. So pretty much what this window will do is it will say, hey, this is what this does. It just generated changelog. You can generate it to a clipboard, a terminal, or to a file with like a default name, and then some options here. And you can see like the preview. This is essentially a preview of the content. So if we go here, if I open up a text editor, I can say don't pop the task off a tree, and I can just say give me this to the clipboard, and here we go. That's your changelog. That's all this stuff, and I can take off some of these here, right? And you see the other window will transform while we do this, and essentially it's just going to take out the tasks that are not finished yet. And yeah, we can just copy this to the clipboard again, or to file or terminal, and this is what you could publish on, like, I don't know, your official changelog or whatever. But yeah, there's also some options here, like skip folded content. Like if this is folded, then this is not going to show up. Obviously this one is finished though, so yeah, I don't know. But if you make it reappear again, then it'll show up. If you have canceled tasks, you can also choose to ignore them, because that kind of makes sense, right? Yeah. So, right, we cannot include them if we want to. But then there's also the pop tasks, which I'm kind of scared to show off right now. Let's see. Let's just not remove too much in case anything goes wrong. So let's say here these two tasks, I want to rip them out of this tree, right? And it's the done and the next tree. We can see one issue here, that's for sure, is this, right? But you can see I have the pop task enabled, and it took out the tasks here. So these two ones, and then on here I have this next. If I remove that, hopefully it's going to look somewhat normal. Oh, I see what's happening. It takes the indentation from this one before, so it thinks it's a bit further, so that's something I need to fix. But that's fine, right? But we can just say clip to the clipboard, or get this to the clipboard, and here's the stuff, and usually it would output it like this, right? And yeah, that's all this does. And I'll probably add more options and make sure that everything works. But that's the general idea, right? It's a feature that I have. It's a feature that I think is good, stands out a little bit, and it's something I think I need to definitely improve on, right? Because this is a good thing, right? It just needs a bit more polishing, more options, that kind of stuff, and then it's actually useful. That's about it for like new content. There's a lot of stuff that I fixed, a lot of stuff that wasn't shown, like the multi-selection not really working with cut and paste, or when there was nothing done, or like no content, it would just kind of crash. So a lot of crashes, some theme editor fixes. Again, another crash on that stuff. Shift up and down. Well, this is more sort of a new thing. So I'm going to take a different stance on this now. So I had this here, right? So I'm going to keep indentation now when we shift task around, because I think this makes more sense. Because there's this issue that I have with shifting multiple things around. When they have invisible children like this, when they're hidden away. So instead what I do now is I'm just gonna say, okay, screw this, we're just gonna do everything in visible space, and anything that you want to do like multi stuff, you'll have to actually cut them out and then bring them somewhere else, because that's the easiest way you can do that with transforming them literally, right? So if I have this kind of content and I would want them in here, oh, now it looks like trash, right? The way you should do this now is instead just cut and paste, right? Because that's the simplest way to do this. The other thing, if we just shift up, it will actually retain the indentation now, right? So just keep that in mind, right? Because otherwise the shift just gets too complex and it just does too much, and that's pretty much the reason why I decided to go this way now. So anything that we do with the shifts now is kind of, it doesn't actually change the indentation. It just it keeps the indentation of the whole tree stable. And anything again else that you want to do, just do it with cut and paste. It's simpler, it's quicker, and just use the mouse, right? Or the keyboard, right? And again, I try to make it work with the folded content, but it's just so many bugs, so many things that you have to keep in mind. So instead, I'm not going to do it the way text editors do it. The camera, again, it just also crash on like empty files sometimes. Offsetting, I made sure that this works with the no animations now. So, this is how it looks without animations. And with animations, it just kind of eases into the locations. It still looks wrong sometimes. Like if I'm here, it's just very drastic, right? And sometimes the X coordinates don't quite add up to, but yeah, it feels very hard to get this kind of stuff right, but yeah. So with animations, without, I mean, it really depends on what you like more, right? But it's certainly an option that I think needs to exist. So in list mode now, I also, if you move around like this, it will just offset not to the cursor but to the actual task boundaries. So like that, yeah. So if we do shift now, it will unfold the content here. So it kind of does the thing that you expect now. And also the same thing with control return, does the thing now. There's some tweaks I did with the strike through. The shadow offsets for the panels now are offset a bit. And again, just a bunch of stuff. But there's a lot more on my list that I want to do, but I think it's time for another alpha, so that's what we're going to do now. So thank you so much for watching, guys. That was pretty much it for all the changes. Again, a lot of fixes, bugs, and pretty much just polishing. So hopefully you guys like this. If you have any feedback, please let me know, and try out the alpha.